We are the Church of the Larger Fellowship, a Unitarian Universalist congregation with no geographical boundaries. We believe in cultivating curiosity and transformation that is rooted in profound love. The COVID-19 pandemic has irrevocably shaped how connections are formed in congregations across the United States and the world. The Church of the Larger Fellowship is committed to being a resource within Unitarian Universalism and beyond. From worship to covenant groups, from classes to pastoral care, and from our monthly magazine Quest to our online community hub and our letter writing ministry, we have found ways to build connection and community, even through the screen. We have been a model for ministry on the margins, providing services for isolated Unitarian Universalists, becoming a spiritual lifeline for our members in prison. The CLF supports the ministries of those who hold target identities: Blue, Black Lives of Unitarian Universalism; Trust, Transgender Religious UU Professionals Together; and Drum, Diverse Revolutionary Unitarian Universalist Multicultural Ministries, just to name a few. We know better than anyone how deep and meaningful connections can be formed, even from a distance. Unitarian Universalists have faced many challenges in these times, and we continue to persevere and fight for justice and equity for all people, especially during moments of crisis. We are proud to be a leader in this faith movement, and we invite you to get involved in our ministry. We strive to be a place where anyone from anywhere can find spiritual refuge anytime they need it. Welcome to the Church of the Larger Fellowship. We are so excited to bring you an all-new episode of The View. The View is a weekly Unitarian Universalist talk show discussing important faith-based topics from an anti-racist, anti-oppressive, and multicultural perspective. Every Thursday for the past 7 years, we have welcomed guests from every corner of the world. Our guests are writers, scholars, activists, and religious thought leaders who are shaping Unitarian Universalism and society for the 21st century and beyond. I hope today's show inspires you. Hope it builds your faith. Hope it gives you perspective to see the power of Unitarian Universalism at work in your life. Enjoy the message.
Hello, 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 beloveds. Welcome to The View, Voices of Unitarian Universalists, our weekly talk show here hosted by the Church of the Larger Fellowship. I am Donté Hilliard. I have the pleasure and honor of serving as one of the Learning Fellows for Worship here at the Church of the Larger Fellowship. I am here in Baltimore, Maryland, USA, the land of the Piscataway people. I am a pleasantly plump and curvaceous African-American man with very cafe au lait skin tone and reddish-brown locks with a lot of white hair around the edges. And I have on gold-framed glasses and a gray t-shirt. Aisha, what's going on? What's up with you?
Hello, my friend Donté. I'm Aisha Hauser. My pronouns are she and her, and I am coming to you from the land of the Coast Salish people, also known as Seattle, Washington. And I have more milk than coffee in terms of my skin. It's a much lighter Olay, light brown skin. I have pink glasses on. I'm wearing a keffiyeh, symbol of the resistance and freedom fighters of the Palestinian people, Free Palestine. And I also have gray hair that's in my black, curly, wavy mess, which I love. So that is me. And Michael, and I'm co-lead of the lead ministry, one half of the co-lead ministry team of the Church of Larger Fellowship. Super privileged. Love this. Michael, my other half.
Greetings, everyone. I'm Michael Tino. Pronouns are they and them. I am the other half of the lead ministry team of the Church of the Larger Fellowship. And I am a fat, white, almost bald, though there's There's some gray in the sides on the sides of my head too. Dudish looking person in a purple polo shirt. Like I don't understand visual descriptions are supposed to refer to gender, but like when one is gender queer, that's hard. But most people misgender me as male, so like if you need that for your visual description, it is right there. I am joining you from Peekskill, New York, the land of the Kitchewan, Wappinger, and Munsee Lenape people, a little bit north of New York City on the Hudson River, where it is actually finally June. Like March has decided to go back to its place in the calendar, and we have had now so much rain in the last several days that hopefully all of the pollen, the tree pollen, is finally washed from the air, and I can breathe again. TC, how are you?
I am well, and apparently my phones want to say hi too. Hang on. There. In a drawer. Hi, everybody. I'm Reverend DC Fortune. I am a fat, white, transgender guy with very little hair left, and what's left of that is gray. It's very shiny on top. I'm wearing my CLF abolition t-shirts, and I have dark frame glasses on. I am coming to you from central Pennsylvania in the town of Northumberland, where Joseph Priestley lived out his final days, on the banks of the Susquehanna River, ancestral home of the Susquehannock people. And yeah, it's toasty warm here. Going to be 85, 86 today, which is just right for going outside and doing nothing, but not going outside and working, because then you get all sweaty and gross. But yeah. And this is the last of our programs for the year. We're about to take our summer hiatus, and next week I will be seeing some of you at GA. So I think we're all going to GA. Aisha, you going?
75% of us. Yeah, I'll be there. General Assembly, our.
Okay. Yeah.
Am I lagging? I am connected. I don't know why it's not perfect. So.
I figure the signal. I mean, you're in Seattle, so I mean, it's like totally got to go to the satellite and back, before it gets to the East Coast.
Like fucking tech capital. Why isn't this the best? It's all propaganda. I'm in a mood. I mean, last night we had so LA is where, yes, we need to have our focus, and there's shit going on here in Seattle. We're a sanctuary city. And our current administration wants to be a bully, is a bully, all of them. And they're picking on blue cities that want to not be terrible.
Right.
Yeah. And we have one of our folks here. Nicole is here from LA County and City. Our love goes to people who are being provoked and targeted by ICE officers, police officers, and now National Guard and Marine troops illegally deployed there. We need to be really clear that we understand that what's going on from the protest point of view is a peaceful protest. And that all of the violence that has been meted out, the rubber bullets and the car on fire and the people being injured, and all of that is being meted out by the law enforcement officers that are there. And it's just the fascists in charge are relying on the news being riots in Los Angeles, when what it is people exercising peaceful protests and being met with overwhelming, disproportionate fascist force.
And even if you watch all the footage on mute, you can see that there's one group of people that showed up ready for violence and one group of people that showed up ready for peace.
And there are instigators, to be clear. There are people that are, whether or not they're plants by the government, are still instigating violence. They're covering their faces or throwing things. They appear to be from the protesters, but they are not. And I want to say in 2020, I was during the protests in response to the murder of George Floyd. Got a lot of attention apparently in right media and media in general. And I kept getting texts from family like, "Are you okay?" I said, "Why wouldn't I be okay?" Like, they're like, there's a lot of, whatever's going on in Seattle. And I don't watch mainstream news at all. Like I haven't in easily a couple decades, but I was like, what is, and then I realized I had to get it because people were alarmed. Like my aunt was like, "You sure you don't want to come to Jersey?" And I'm like, what's happening? Like I live in technically Seattle. And then I went, and so my son goes, "Mom, make sure you don't go." I'm like, oh no, I already was there. Here are all the pictures. So where the area of Capitol Hill that was had the protests there, it was a fair. Let me just tell you, like, yes, a police station was taken over, and in front of that, a stage was set up. There were speakers. There was a tent where the sign was, "Come talk to us about racism." There was a couch, a full-on couch, people giving away pizza. They were talking about racism. They had a little library. I mean, I'm like, I'm getting panic texts from family. I'm like, here you go. Here's what's happening in Seattle. Now, yes, was there violence, and it was from either instigators or the riot police dressed in riot gear who were picking a fight. What you focus on grows bigger. So if you, unlike the Women's March of 2017, where police were part of the fun, I'm going to put down quotes, like we're taking selfies with people. So when the police don't show up ready to beat people, they don't. And it doesn't turn into a violent thing.
Right.
And that's what we're hearing in LA.
What you come prepared to do is what you end up doing.
There it is.
But let us say, when the people are brown, they show up for violence.
Yep. Oh yeah.
There it is.
Really, really cool.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I remember Leslie Mack reminding us in 2016 or 2017 for the Women's March. That was really steeped in white supremacy culture from the organizing. And it was like, hello, a majority of white women voted for Donald Trump
twice.
So here you are, all with your silly little hats. Let's name this thing that you're not holding your sisters accountable.
Yeah. Or what was it? The march that happened after this election.
What?
Probably 3 times, Aisha. I think a majority of white women voted for him in 2022 when he lost.
Very good point.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, what was the march after this last election, right? And they were like, "Oh, it was so peaceful." Interesting. The one where the black folks was like, "We ain't going."
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
We ain't going. Right.
Right.
And I have a sense, and talking to a lot of my friends, that the government is literally trying to provoke black people into the streets. So you're getting ridiculous things like jackhammering up the Black Lives Matter Plaza. It was paint on asphalt. All you had to do was relay a new layer of asphalt. Like, literally.
Power wash it, for God's sake.
But they are literally out with jackhammers and excavators digging it up.
So stupid.
Wasting taxpayer money trying to infuriate black people into the streets.
Well, that's the whole talk about pardoning Derek Chauvin, is trying to instigate. That's all it is. It's exactly right. And there are 7 gazillion reasons to love black people, and the fact that we're like, this is your fucking problem. Fix it, white people. White people got us here. This isn't about like who turned out to vote. The numbers are very, very fucking clear. why we're here. And it is not Black and brown people.
Yep.
So,
Nope.
and
Nope.
he's a terrible fascist. The current, I mean, they're so like enraged and filled with cruelty and hate. There's not even, it's an abuse. It really does feel like a domestic violence situation where it doesn't matter what anyone, there's a rage, there is a
dad's an insecure
control. Yeah.
and
what
all right, that was me.
happening is that they chose LA where there are strong neighborhoods. There's been organizing for decades and decades. One of many of our clergy who are there, including Reverend Omega Burkhart. Shout out to Reverend Omega, who was on the news. I shared it on my Facebook page to demonstrate that this is an interfaith, inter-community coalition of people who are not going to just sit by and watch fascism take over. And I don't know what they expected, they being the fascist government. I promise you they didn't expect this. I think there was a delusion. They are self-delusional that I don't know what, that people are going to, I don't know. I'm like, they don't understand. They've never been to the United States, obviously.
I mean,
we're an ornery fucking bunch.
But I also just think as people of community and faith, and I'm going to say this as a person who is a trained Black studies, cultural studies professor, 20-year DEI professional, and a member of the Unitarian Universalist Association. My white siblings, we need to work on some rituals for reclaiming your humanity.
Whew, say that.
And I'm not being funny. I'm not being flippant. And men, cisgender men, we need one to reclaim our humanity too. Straight folks, heterosexual, we need one for the reclaiming. Any of us who occupy identities of privilege, we have been taught to minimize our humanity and make the evil and violence against others acceptable.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
And we need our season of lament. We need to rent these clothes and throw sackcloth and ash on our head, however we need to do it. But we actually need to both grieve, lament, and make amends around the ways in which we have surrendered parts of our humanity.
A ritual purification sort of thing.
Like regularly, at least once a year. I think it has to happen at least once a year.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. I have I post quite often about bearing witness and wanting to end the genocide in Gaza, and one of the people who still posts, who makes apologies for this genocide, my only response to him consistently is, I hope you find your humanity. I don't argue with the propaganda because it's called Hasbara. There's an actual name for it. This propaganda around how the Palestinians are treated and the actions of the Israeli government. But that's my response. And I haven't blocked him. And I ask myself why. And I'm like, because there's an element of bearing witness for us on the left and the people who are against genocide to understand what's being said. And what's being said is racist, homophobic, transphobic. I mean, it's awful. And I just come back with, I hope you find your humanity. I hope you find your humanity. That is my only response. There is no, I'm not going to, because facts don't matter. Facts don't matter when you have so thoroughly dehumanized other groups of people that facts don't fucking matter.
it's true.
But this is the trick. You're not dehumanizing other people. You're dehumanizing yourself.
I literally,
right.
Woo, I say that. I hope you find the humanity in yourself. Greta Thunberg, first of all, God bless that young woman goddess bless her, who is clear. She's like, oh, you aren't going to do shit about the environment here. Oh, you're not going to do shit about Palestine. Come on, let's get the boat. We're going. She was picked up. Her press conference after was a class. She could be a professor of how to do this. She stayed on message. They kept trying to. She said, "This is about the Palestinians. It doesn't matter what happened to me. It's nothing compared to what's happening in Gaza. This is about the Palestinians." And her clarity, and she is a white woman who had the world's attention and was the world's darling because she's like, hey, the polar ice caps are melting. What the fuck are you doing about it? But as soon as she started wearing a keffiyeh, then they're like, oh, she was called part of Hamas. And the orange.
She's from what? Sweden,
Swedish.
Finland?
And Trump said she is an angry young woman. And her response was, we need more angry young women in the world.
Our Lord said anger is an appropriate response to oppression. And
it's the only response to oppression. Why are we okay with this? We're not okay with this, but you know what I mean.
I think we need to learn how to sit in our non-positive, upbeat moods more often. Sit in it. You pissed, sit in it. You angry, sit in that. Sit in it.
Whatever it takes to get you to act.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We like to gloss over it because the machine wants you to get back to work.
Right.
And sitting in discomfort is something that people with privilege have less capacity to do.
They have no muscle memory.
Had to do
they have no muscle memory. They don't know how to do it.
Yes.
Yeah, and so for them, it feels like the end of the world because they have no reference for this particular flavor of discomfort.
Yeah.
It feels like it's coming from outer space because they have no experience with having that part of them challenged.
Did you see Nicole's comment? Our culture teaches that anger must be eradicated, that anger is the evil. There is no opening to discuss how to be productive in your anger.
I also want to say, growing up with a narcissist, that anger was forbidden by those who are oppressive. The only one allowed to be angry are the ones who are the oppressors.
Wow.
Yeah. Right? Like my father was the only one in our house allowed to get angry. So think about that writ large at the macro scale of societal systems.
And the manipulation.
Who's allowed
and the manipulation on top of that of the reason you're angry is Black and brown people. It's not because the system is designed to have people with, basically a slave labor class so that you work for almost nothing and have no safety net. The reason your life sucks, and don't be angry at us, who those in power, who have all the power to make this different, be mad at the Black and brown people and the people just coming in. Oh my God, I could go, fuck this country. My father came here and fuck England too. Fuck you, British Empire. That fucked up Egypt and fucked up the Middle East. It's why my father came here. He wasn't connected enough to fucking have a free ride to a job. And he didn't join the military because he's as ornery as he was. He died when I was a kid. But he's an ornery fucker too. We're not military material. So he's like, fuck that. Sorry.
Can we also someone I know posted this on Facebook, and I just thought it was can we admit that our whole country owes Jeremiah Wright an apology?
All of us.
Yes.
I don't.
the nation as a whole.
You. The white people.
all the white people, all those white folks, y'all.
Oh my God. Like, what kind of hatred from the pulpit? Oh, I never, my stars. What?
Pearl clutching.
We need to get you some pearls, honey.
The pearl clutching. Our rage is holy. Yes, Lilani, that's right. Our rage, have holy rage.
But I also think this thing DC brought up about forced compliance with, not allowed anger as a thing. When Audra says that our silence, which I always interpret as our compliance, will not protect us, right?
Okay.
Because there was a time when my ancestors, we're forced to smile and grin no matter how you feel. But then the smiling and grinning is used as an example that you're happy to be oppressed.
Right.
No win.
Yeah. No, it's the gaslighting of the narcissist, of the psychopath.
And I just want to remind you, my good white people, y'all are the standard for what is psychologically healthy.
God help us.
The rest of us are considered unnormal. Y'all are the standard for medical health, psychological health, sociological health.
Yeah.
Wow.
If a bunch of young black boys were doing mass killings, we'd have a whole name, a new syndrome. It would have a name. There would be these interventional facilities involved. It would be all of this. But a young white boy goes into a church, kills 16 black people, and the police stop at McDonald's so he can get something to eat before they get to the prison. Like what?
And it's very much unlearned. We just have to want to learn differently in this society, or white people have to want to. James Baldwin talked about this. James Baldwin was clear. Our destinies are tied together. White people, get your shit together. Not an exact quote, but basically, if you don't get your shit together, we're all fucked. That's basically what James Baldwin, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, they're like, get the fuck out. Like, what's happening here? And we're seeing it. Like, oh my God, yeah. It's who's allowed to be angry? Who's allowed to, yeah.
Who's allowed to speak, and who's allowed to speak also is governed by what people are allowed to say.
Well, look at what's happening with Palestine. It's you can't even say stop a genocide, stop slaughtering children without hearing what about Hamas, what about October 7th, as if that's when history started. Because the Palestinians were treated beautifully before October 7th. I mean, they were allowed perfect rights, allowed freedom of movement. Oh, right, that's not true. And it is very much like wow. The parallels to abuse stark, because
right.
Have you
it's family system.
Renita Weems has a book. She's a biblical scholar. It's called Battered Love. And she talks about the metaphors of God as divine batterer in the Hebrew Bible.
Ooh.
It is.
I had a therapist once tell me that our image of God is generally our image of, because we live in a patriarchy, our understanding of our father from when we were about 2 or 3 years old.
Wow.
Right? Does that fit with how you understand God, or how you were raised to understand God?
No, not for me.
Yeah.
No, because that would mean God is just absent. just
literally.
See, in black spaces, I think the God as Father metaphor has so much power because of the ways in which our family structures were torn apart. And men were forced to procreate without relation, right? Forced to breed, forced to make babies. Sometimes they weren't even allowed to see the person they were being forced to copulate with, which means that sometimes it could have been a relative or who knows, right? And so then you learn to distance yourself from family making because there's no respect for whatever family structure you have, because anybody can be killed, taken away, sold, whatever. So you learn to disassociate. So I think the God the Father in Black community and Christian space is really powerful because it is the fantasy of what we needed. We needed a protector. We needed a savior. We needed someone who was like, fuck this, I'm gonna stop it. Like, these are my kids, and you, how dare you? Like, I think that's why God the Father has so much power, even though in Pentecostalism, much of our energy is really around divine feminine. We just don't call it that. We call it the Holy Spirit.
Okay, that's today's show, folks. Thank you very much for showing. Damn, my brain's full and we're only halfway through. Shit.
Well, I mean, I do think it's reasonable and fair and important that I think we underplay nationally, not we, the four of us, how much the Christianity, the evangelical version of Christianity that's turned quite political, that worships the white Jesus, who was from Sweden, like Greta,
who everyone knows is not historically accurate.
Is not historically accurate. Jesus was from Bethlehem, which is in the West Bank, which is Palestinian. Full circle moment. And the commitment to the idea of what is written in the Bible, the New Testament, right? I think we don't call it that way anymore. The Christian Testament.
Nicole's like, I'm gonna need more coffee for this discussion.
I think there is a desire. Nicole, you're funny. I think there is America to not believe that there are people who are embodied within them this idea of whatever their version of the Christian Bible tells them to do, including control women's bodies, including define, I put in air quotes, define marriage as between only two genders. And that is
only two people.
And only two people. So that I think it is underestimating that to our detriment. Because yes, there are the oligarchs, violent extractive capitalism, and this is the way I mean, I've seen other people say it. This is not an original thought, but I've seen people name it and I agree with it. There's the Project 2025 people who are like, we want to bring back the version of Christianity that's very American, and oppressive and Puritan and terrible. And then there's the oligarchs who want to control everybody and make us a capitalist hellscape more than it already is. So these two factions are the ones that are in power right now in the United States. And I think the Project 2025 faction is the one that is causing the most harm in terms of in terms of trans. Like, why the fuck are you attacking trans people of all ages? Attacking women's rights, overturning Roe v. Wade. These are the things that are impacting who we are as people who want to live freely and without being attacked, right? That is coming from a Christian, a evangelical American Christian, and we've exported it. It is why there's homophobic shit going on in different continents, in the global south, on the continent of Africa. So that is something we do not talk about enough, and it is where Unitarian Universalism can make a fucking impact, because we are people of faith who don't espouse that garbage.
Yeah. And,
Right.
and I'm just going to say it. Most people identify as Christian don't read their own holy text.
No.
And they certainly don't read them as complete stories. Because if you actually read, I don't care whether it's the Tanakh, what the Christians call the Old Testament, or the New Testament. If you literally sit with those Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and you read them, it becomes real clear. Clearly, we believe in multiplicity because we tell the same stories over and over, but they're not the same.
I think John.
Most Christians don't know there's two versions of creation. Genesis. Mm-hmm. They think it's one story. They mix it. There's two. They're literally two different versions.
Listen, Donté, let me tell you, it was the very first day of my very first Bible class when my professor came in and said, okay, if anybody is going to espouse biblical literalism, here's my quiz for you. And gave us a quiz on the story of creation in Genesis. And there are 3 versions woven together that often conflict with one another. They say different things. Like, he's like, okay. The professor was like, okay, so like, now that we've established that this cannot be the literal truth because it contains internal, storytelling
contradictions. Yeah,
like, let's move on.
Right, like, come on. These are morality plays. They're meant to help us think about what it means to be human, but it's not history. It's not fact.
No, but like, I was blessed. Like, I came to seminary with 0 biblical knowledge. Right, I grew up Catholic. Right, which means when you graduate from 8th grade, they hand you a Bible and say, don't read it necessarily, just put it on a shelf. We'll tell you what you need to know. Honest to God. Like, my family priest was like, yeah, you don't want to go in there by yourself. It gets confusing really fast. And so I got to seminary not realizing that there wasn't actually anybody named Luke, like, honest to God, for real. I was in my 40s. Okay. And I was blessed with this really sweet, super gentle Christian scholar who said, I don't need you to believe it. I need you to understand how it came about. And between that and another professor recommending the People's Bible, which has commentary by scholars who are all from at least one marginalized identity. Let me tell you what, somebody who I think in the commentary on Amos was written by the grandchild or great-grandchild of enslaved people. Right, and who were then raised by the next generation of Jim Crow folks. They've got a really different take on what it means for justice to roll down like water than the guy who wrote the commentary in your Oxford Annotated, who happens to be a straight white cisgender Baptist preacher from Kentucky. Right, because he was my professor at Andover Newton. Right. So they're going to have 2 very different understandings of the scripture. And once I learned that was possible, that there was room for me to see these things, that helped a bunch, but yeah, like it was an eye-opening sort of thing. And I spent a lot of time driving home from class on the phone with various friends being like, and then this fucked up thing happened. And then like Paul was weird. And
weird.
Right. It was honestly, I was reading it all critically for the first time in my life in my 40s.
And it's so like seminary is where I learned that there are whole communities of people who say all theology is contextual. Like all this shit is contextual. It depends on who you are, where you come from. Okay, that's not how it was introduced to me. But I was like, oh, this is a thing. Great. Like, I studied literature, so I get that.
Right.
But in my own family, I saw, like, you don't quote Paul. You couldn't quote Paul at my Pentecostal grandmother about women can't preach or women be silent. My grandmother would say, if God could make an ass talk, he can let a woman preach. And so... And that was a real, I mean, like that. So what I learned was even the most devout Christians in my family didn't eat the whole thing blind. They didn't. They had critiques. Like, no one cared what the fuck Paul said. They were like, he ain't even meet Jesus. Like, who cared?
Right? Yeah. 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 I described him as he was a type A personality. He would have been like the #1 used camel salesman in Judea at the time. Like, that's just who he was. He was one of those guys that was obsessive about what he did. He got knocked off his horse and he's like, oh, I've been reading this whole thing upside down for forever. I'll be back. And he goes off and he spends 3-4 years in the desert figuring out stuff and comes back. And then the rest of the disciples are like, dude, you got no business talking about this. You never met him. Matter of fact, you chased us up and down this freaking valley for years trying to kill us. Yeah, no, you go somewhere else. And Paul was like, I think there's market saturation here. I'm going to go somewhere else.
I feel like Paul was a slave catcher who then came back and was like, I want to lead the Underground Railroad. What?
Yes, exactly. That's what Paul was. That's what Paul was. Yes.
Listen, this conversation is exactly the point that doesn't happen enough, because Christians are having their own conversation of how can we take this text and Paul and Luke and make it the worst. What is the worst, most cruel interpretation? What is the most loving interpretation? That's the point.
Mm-hmm.
Aisha, I don't even know that they care that it's in the text.
No.
Right? It's sort of like, what is the worst? And they don't say the worst, but like, what is, like, they just say, what is our vision of society?
Right.
And like patriarchy and misogyny and racism and white supremacy and like all this stuff. And let's say it's in the Bible.
Yeah.
Because nobody's fucking gonna read it and contradict us. Right? Like, I mean, like, one thing that the both the Hebrew and Christian scriptures are abundantly clear about, right?
Just don't be a dick.
That they're abundantly clear about, and they're clear about very few things, is how you treat immigrants and refugees.
Hello.
Right? Like, both the Hebrew scriptures and the Christian scriptures, like, abundantly clear and ridiculously consistent. Like, do they give a shit?
Right?
No, they don't. They really don't. They're gonna make up something. Like, they're gonna make up something about how we have to love. We have to love our nation the white way, right? Like, we have to love this white supremacist vision of this colonial nation, and that's what the Bible says. Like, the Bible won't say any of that bullshit.
So, me and my best friend...
No. Some of y'all are sitting at the tables, Jesus.
Me and my best friend it started as a joke on the phone one night. I was like, you know what, girl? We need to produce this book as a fundraiser, and we're going to call it Great White People of the Bible. And we open it up, and it's
going to be empty.
Yeah.
Pages in white.
It's nothing.
I can't.
Oh,
because the closest thing to white people in the Christian Testament are the Romans.
They were not
the heroes.
not great.
Right? Yeah.
We're not the heroes.
Yeah, they're not the heroes at all.
Yeah.
But that's the close. Yeah. Like, but again, but people don't understand why I don't want to be in a space where you got, some Leo DiCaprio looking blonde dude on the wall telling me to worship.
Mm-mm.
I used to go to church with a colleague at Andover Newton who went to the local AME church. And we were sitting there one morning. I'd go as often as I could. Wasn't very often, but I'd show up, and I said to her one day, I said, Saunders, why is Jesus on the stained glass? Why is Jesus white? She says, it used to be a Methodist church.
Well, isn't that the best answer ever? That's
It was there when we bought the building, child.
We haven't gone up with a ladder and
you didn't have
tinted him.
anybody go up there, right? You didn't have anybody go up there with a brown Sharpie, for God's sakes. Come on.
She probably did something.
oh my God. Wow.
No, I think she said no. It was a Lutheran church. It was a Lutheran church because he was blonde. Blonde. Yeah.
Have any of you all
Oh,
seen
yeah.
what is it? The Book of Clarence yet?
No, is it good? Do you recommend it? It's on my
Y'all
list.
gotta, yes, you gotta see the Book of
Okay.
Clarence.
Okay.
The Book of Clarence
Yeah.
is, I mean, if you want to teach a class on religious history, or particularly Christian religion, it would be an amazing text to use to teach this class, because they undo all of the ish.
Yeah.
Like, they're speaking about 4 different African dialects. Like, I would be light-skinned in this movie. Like, I would be on the lighter side of people in this movie. Yeah, and it's beautiful. The aesthetics of it is beautiful, but also just the sort of undoing and sort of play, like, and you know, in ways that I often, you know, I'm sure some Christians probably find it offensive, but I also remember Christians coming out of the theater seeing Passion of the Christ, like, oh my God, it was so violent. And I kept going, what did you think crucifixion was?
You know they tortured and killed him, right?
Like,
Right, yeah.
the description in the text is pretty clear what crucifixion is and what it looks like. I learned what a flogger was in the Bible. Like, DC, don't start. In the Bible.
I got this little soft-boiled eggs in here.
Oh,
Nope.
see, I think this is where we should end, right? We have brought you a high-minded and intellectual biblical criticism and anti-racist analysis, and we know that Aisha has to leave a little early today for her leadership program graduation. So let's end.
Is this
let's
the
end
white,
with
sort
the-
of male-ish looking guy telling us not to talk?
Yeah, no, I'm not telling you not to talk. I'm telling you,
No.
like, let's talk about the Cumberland, the Susquehanna Valley's best tag sale.
Yeah, so the congregation that I serve has his what do you mean, DC? Don't start. Congregation I serve has an annual yard sale on the 4th of July weekend, and it is like 10% of the annual budget, I swear, some years.
So
And
it's
so we
anywhere in Northumberland, Pennsylvania.
Northumberland, Pennsylvania. That's right. And we get the most random assortment of shit. Like, we get really cool stuff, but we also get random stuff where everybody who's pricing it goes, what the hell is that? And so this thing came in yesterday, this little weird scissory round Mickey Mouse looking thing, right? Right. And except it's a little terrifying because it does that.
That is funny.
Right. And so the 90-year-old gal who was pricing things was like, okay, who knows what this is? And
Does anyone out there in Viewland know what it is?
anybody out there know?
Please,
know?
please put it in the message.
Put it in the message.
Your guess. What's your guess? Let's
Yes,
really
please
have
take a guess.
this.
Wrong
Yeah,
answers
so-
accepted.
Right. Yeah. So so I I posted it for on Facebook for some friends because I have interesting friends. See, my comment to the 90-year-old gal who showed me this, I'm like, I know a couple of dominatrixes who would really make use of this, and she laughed because her husband started the sexology program at Widener, so there's like nothing that shocks this gal. Come to turn out, it's for It's for a soft boiled egg. It's to take like the shell off the top of your hard boiled soft boiled egg, so you can then dip your toast in it. But yeah, we had way more exciting ideas about this. Right?
We should do an auction fundraiser for CLF with that. We should put it on highest bidder.
Like, how much would you pay for this little gem right here?
Oh my God.
Because yeah. So anyway,
and we know people
awesome.
who would probably bid that.
I have to go. I'm going off to my program. I love you all. I'm so glad I got to do this today. I'll see you.
All right.
Those of you in
all right. I'll see you next week.
Or I will. Yes, I'll see you next week and see you next season. And love you all. Love you. Bye.
Take care. Bye, Aisha. Bye, Aisha. So yeah. So this is just. Isn't that lovely? I mean, they're pokey things, but they're not sharpened like a knife edge. They're just pokey. But yeah.
Oh,
I thought, while we were on torture devices.
Oh, there you go. Torture devices, absolutely. Yeah.
Was it Unitarian Universalist Eco-Socialist Network says, to a San Franciscan, that's a toy.
That's a toy. Absolutely. Absolutely. You could probably, take that to the ramrod and auction it off. And yeah. So, but yeah, no, it's for soft-boiled eggs. Yeah, go figure. Yeah, it was way less exciting than we imagined.
Right?
Yeah. And we were like, oh, well.
I am known as a paragon of decorum, DC, and I just don't understand how I've allowed you to pull me down. Everyone knows I'm a paragon of virtue and decorum.
Yes, absolutely. I know. Well, I have this effect on my friends. I have a number of friends.
For ASMR, someone said it makes a wonderful noise.
Right? Yeah, totally.
The question is, DC, are you having this effect on your friends, or do you collect friends who?
No. See, I have a really rich assortment of friends.
I know.
But it's the fairly innocent ones that I had somebody say yesterday that, my feed has gotten a lot more interesting since I became DC's friend. They like, okay, like I'll take that. Sure. I used to do some radical sex education stuff. But I think that would be a little ambitious to try and bring to a bris, but
yeah, because it's not going to cut.
Right. No, and it's
a whole
oversized for an instant. Huh?
To hold it steady.
Well, yeah, there you go. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. So the interesting things that happen in my world, and I will tell you that this will not be available at the yard sale this year because I've already purchased it, just for the sheer terror it can instill in people I know.
The question is, will you keep it in the kitchen?
Probably. It's funny. I've had people come over and they're like, wow, you have a lot of nitrile gloves in the kitchen. And I'm like, I cook with garlic. Just back off, okay? I don't want my hands smelling like garlic.
Habanero peppers. You need them.
Yeah. You cook with hot peppers. You want gloves. That's all. I have other boxes in other places, but yeah, there's totally, in the kitchen.
So we have like 5 minutes left.
And
I think this has been really. I think this has really been sort of, it has encapsulated all of the facets of that we cover in a typical year with social justice and white supremacy culture and family function stuff and abuse and
theology,
sex stuff and theology and scriptural interpretation and criticism and, other weird stuff. Mickey Mouse. Right?
And View viewers, this is the final episode of season 12.
Right?
We'll be back in September with season 13. Lucky season 13.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
We'll send you a bill, Nicole. Nicole says the last 5 minutes has been pure therapy.
and we try hard. We try hard to give you that therapy here on The View.
For some, it'll be therapy. For some, it'll be stuff that they talk about with their therapist.
What do we have to talk about in the last 5 minutes of season 12?
Take care of yourself.
Yes.
Did we
Take
wish
care of
folks a
yourself.
happy Pride Month?
Mm-hmm. Happy Pride Month. Take care of yourself. If you go to demonstrations and protests and stuff like that, follow the lead of people who know what they're doing.
Bring
You
masks
know,
and
And
be
have a
careful. Bring
plan.
water. Have a plan. Have a buddy that you check in with periodically, so that anybody, if you end up going missing, somebody knows that you're missing and not just connected with other people, right?
know that the person dressed all in black with a head covering and military style goggles is probably a plant who is there to stir shit up.
Right? Yep. Yeah. And there's a division about, do you bring your cell phone with you or do you not? I saw some pretty amazing footage out of St. Louis a few years back where clear undercover officers were breaking storefront windows downtown. You know, and they can be identified by their cop shoes and their cop gloves and their, you know, which are just like the best quality stuff there is. So of course they're wearing them, right? But whoops. Yeah. So if you bring your phone, record. And if you don't bring your phone, stay connected with people. And if you have identities that make you a target, maybe stay back. You know, you're too valuable to get sacrificed for this shout pumpkin. You know, let those of us with a little extra privilege put ourselves at risk.
And may those of us who hold facilities and institutions make them open and available for spaces of safety and
Yep.
and respite in these moments.
Yeah. If you're able, open your church doors to everybody but the police. Which you are allowed to do. You are allowed to say you are welcome here and you are not. You're allowed to do that.
Lord knows that people with different theological backgrounds have felt free to tell those of us who are here right now that we are not welcome.
We were not welcome.
We were not welcome. No kidding, right? Yep. Yeah. So, yeah. Take care of yourself.
DC, it looks like you need to make an appointment with Darby at GA. She wants to talk about some things with you.
Yeah. Blacksmithing and stuff. Yeah.
Right. Next week in Baltimore, meet me at Taharka Brothers Ice Cream.
You got to bring me there.
Yeah. Donté turned me on to this, like, black-owned ice cream.
Best ice cream in the world.
Yeah.
Centered in Baltimore. We're going.
Yeah.
They only make small batch. They only sell to local stores. No big box.
Oof. They have a store that, like, where you can go in and get scoops of ice cream on a cone and stuff.
In fact, they do.
And you can go to some of the local grocers and get them too. Locally owned grocers. Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
You all, we have wasted 12 years of people's time.
This has not been wasted.
No, I joke.
I found the UUA because of the View. That's how I found it.
Okay, then 12 years of effort has all been worth it.
Right? Like, that just terrifies the hell out of me.
I am thankful every day that you found us, Donté.
Yeah, no kidding.
And we will viewers, land. We will see you in September.
Yes,
Enjoy your summer the best you can.
And take
That's
care
right.
of yourselves. Take care of
And
your
if you
people.
see me at GA, make sure you come up and introduce yourself.
Likewise.
Take care, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye now.
Thank you for joining us. Special thanks to those of you who give generously to this ministry. It is because of you that this ministry is possible. You can click the link in the description to give now, or visit clfuu.org/give for more information. We hope you will join us next week for another episode of The View.